Hey, you guys, I'm Mervyn Cole, and I am your host of The Ramble. It is a brand new comedy podcast featuring comedians in Los Angeles. Let's get started. All right. Where do I begin? Let's see. First ever episode coincidentally starts on Halloween, arguably the spookiest day of the year, and I'm here recording from Los Angeles, in between La Cienega and La Brea, where you'll often find people walking around like zombies with masks on, amongst the tent cities and COVID-19 with fire and brimstone. All right, so our first guest on The Ramble, and I'm not actually going to attempt to butcher her name because I've been a victim of name assault in my life throughout the years. My name is Mervyn, and for some reason people can't even fucking say Mervyn. They say Melvin, Marvin, Marilyn, I've been called. And at some point in middle school, some people just gave up and just said JCPenney. So I'm going to let her say it. Here she is. You're on The Ramble.
Hey, what's up?
What's happening? So how do you pronounce your name?
That's so funny. My name is Nthenya, like Nthenya from Kenya.
Nthenya from, okay, so the N is silent then.
Yeah, Nthenya from Kenya.
Ah.
Yep, the N is silent.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I would have been like, Nthenya? Like, I would not have, I would totally fuck that up. Awesome, man. That's
it's all good. It's all good.
Okay, so were you were born in Kenya, right?
Yep.
Oh, okay,
yep,
cool.
I was born in Kenya.
And when did you come over here to the United States of craziness?
I got to America via Canada. So I actually grew up part-time in Ontario, like a small town outside of Toronto. And then I moved to Vancouver when I was 5.
Ooh.
And then we moved to Charleston, South Carolina when I was 11.
Oh, wow.
It was so exciting. I thought, it was America. Like, anytime even in Canada, people are like, what, you're going to America? That's amazing. It's going to be dope. Like, at the time, it was 98 when we moved. So I think, the biggest celebrities were, I think Tupac had just died a couple of years before that. I think he died in 97, right? I don't know.
Somewhere around there. Yeah, it sounds right. Yeah.
So, and the Bulls were pretty, Michael Jordan was a celebrity, and we were moving to South Carolina, and I was like, North Carolina's right around the corner. And he played for,
right, the Tar Heels.
I was just the Tar Heels. So I was just like, oh my God, we're going to South Carolina. It's going to be hype. All these black people, they're free. It's going to be amazing. But it wasn't.
What were the difficult? So you already knew English though, because you went to Canada, right?
Yeah.
Or did you know French too, or just English?
Yeah. Well, I went to an immersion school, so they were taught both French and English.
Uh-huh.
So I knew English.
Okay.
That wasn't a problem. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you knew English and you kind of understood Western culture. You were only 11 years old. It wasn't 25 or something where it was kind of more of a shock or whatever.
Yeah, no, I already, I was accustomed to American culture. The shock came from just understanding the racial dynamics in America. That was real. I was like, oh, these textbooks say they're free, but they're not really that free.
Right. And in Kenya, I mean, everyone is Kenyan. Everyone is African, right? So it's when you see a white person, you're kind of oh, well, they're the minority there.
Well, sort of. Yeah. I mean, it sort of depends. People who are not I guess genetically indigenous to Kenya, I feel that was probably the most political way of saying that, or politically correct way of saying that. But when you see white people in Kenya,
you're oh shit, Scientologists.
Probably. they've probably been there for a while. Like they're either their family, like they like moved there, for, you know, like they were born there, but their family immigrated, or they've actually, their families have lived there for generations because we were colonized.
Oh, okay.
By the British. So, and like our freedom just came like circa 1970, you know, like the late 60s. So it's like, it's not like we haven't been free for that long. So there's still like, there's white people in positions of power. They're not like peasants. If you see a white person in Africa, they probably live pretty well.
So when you were growing up, was there any crazy shit like what was happening in South Africa, like with apartheid or any of that kind of shit?
Not necessarily. Apartheid didn't happen in my experience, in my historical experience of Kenya. I've never really heard that sort of experience. It's just that opportunities are more available to people who have wealth. And obviously people who have wealth generally have been white.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just because that's the way it was set up. It was like, well, you have, it's like a catch-22. You have to have the money to have the opportunity, but you have to have the opportunity to have the money. So it's like, how do you get ahead?
Right. So you're kind of like stuck in a ways. Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah. But like, you know, when Kenya became independent, they tried to have opportunities for more wealth. Like there's opportunities to buy back the land, which I think is a very interesting, weird thing. Like, how are you going to buy back the land that was stolen?
Right.
But that's what they're doing. It's like they're trying to offer people the opportunity to have land at a discounted rate, even though it should have been their family's land in the first place.
Yeah. So is it like Nigeria where it's like resources heavy or like what's like the main export, the big money maker there?
God, you know, I'm the worst Kenyan. I don't know. I think tourism is really big. I know that for sure.
Oh, tourism. Okay. Oh, there's a lot of like national parks?
Safari. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow,
you want to see all of the animals. Like that's where you go.
Right. And Obama's brother. He's there, right?
And Obama's family, right? Yeah, his extended family. It's like it's a real tourist experience. Stop by at his village.
Yeah.
Or what would have been.
So you're 11 years old. You're in South Carolina, and you're kind of acclimating to U.S. culture. And today is Halloween. So, what was your first experience with that as an 11-year-old from Kenya via Canada?
You know, I was thinking about that. I've never really had a weird Halloween experience. Like, I know that people have done blackface and like done weird shit like that, but like I've never experienced it. And maybe I have been the culprit. Like, I have definitely gone out once as like a fat ass, and all I did was put 2 pillows in my butt. Like, like that was like my outfit. I was like, I'm gonna go out here and be a fat ass. Like, so I don't know. Maybe I will be.
Did you do that trick or treating, or did you go to a party?
I went to both. I went to like trick or treat because I was like 23, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And then I went to a house party.
Okay, all right. So it's pretty normal. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. That could be offensive.
Yeah,
we could be offending someone in the future right now. Like, who knows? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
It could. No. It could definitely be one of those like I would have to put a trigger warning before I start the show.
Possibly offending somebody in 2034.
So have you had any kind of like scary situations, spooky situations, anything that's happened to you while you were here in the U.S. where you've been pretty freaked out, like ghosts or something, or just something scary? Yeah. Any kind of spookiness for today?
You know, honestly, like spooky season is funny to me because being a woman is like terrifying every day. Like every day is fucking spooky season. So like having a particular story for Halloween is not like the case. Like it's not limited, you know. My experience of spooky behavior is not limited to October, unfortunately. I wish it was.
What was your last like scary experience?
Well, I did have a fine gentleman follow me home, and as like the gate closed, because I lived in one of those apartments that had the garage gate.
Oh, yes.
And so the gate happened to start closing behind me.
Yeah.
And like he couldn't get into the gate. But then as I got out of my car, he waited there, and I was like, oh, there's like a car waiting to get in. And I, of course, didn't open it for them because I'm that person. I'm not opening the gate for you, even if I've seen your car before. So I was just like, I get out of my car and I'm walking, and he's like, hey. And I was like, hi. And he was just like, yeah, you should go back to Africa.
Wow. Wow. Jesus.
And I
Welcome
was just like,
to America. That is just
I was like, how did you know?
Matter of fact, I actually am from Africa.
How did you know? And are you willing to help a girl out? It is expensive.
The cost of living is out of control.
Like, you know, help a girl out. I'll start a GoFundMe. Like, are you going to fund this adventure back to Africa? Or like,
right,
what?
lob your wallet over the fence, buddy. Let's get it going.
Exactly. You want me to go back? That's cool.
Well, that's absolutely terrifying.
But, yeah, it was very bizarre because he followed me home.
Yeah.
So I didn't even I don't know this man at all.
Yeah.
I don't know when he decided to follow me. He just did. And he was so committed that he waited outside of my gate for me to walk out into my building. Because I waited in my car for a while. I think I was like on the phone.
Right, right.
But he was committed. He waited. He waited for me to get out.
Just looking around for women to basically harass. I mean, it's really sad, but true. I mean, sometimes I laugh, but it's just because literally it's true that it happens, and it's like a sad fucking laughter. You know, it's just like, God damn it. You know, it's
right. Yeah, it's like it's weirdly common. Like this girl I was talking to was like, "Oh yeah, I've been followed so many times." And I said, that's crazy. I was like, do you not understand that this should not be a normal occurrence in our lives? Like, this shouldn't be so casual. Oh, yeah, this time this guy followed me home.
This is scary shit that's happening in America
right
now, and probably should be covered a lot more in the news or whatnot, not just a couple of blogs and some podcasts, you know, but.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think the scariest thing that actually happened to me that I can like think about off the top of my head is I had this roommate, and she would have like guys over all the time, which was fine. Like she had her, you know, we had boundaries, like guys can come over, whatever. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like when you have like your roommate, you sort of like set up boundaries. Like I didn't care that she had multiple dudes over. We never really engaged. I never engaged with them.
Sure.
But one night I woke up in the middle of the night. It was probably like 3:30 or 4 in the morning. And there was a man standing in my doorway.
Oh, no.
And
just staring at you?
And he was just staring at me. And I woke up. I don't know why I woke up, but I did. And I saw him. And he looked at me. He didn't even like flinch or move. He just stood there, stared right back at me. And then I, of course, just like shouted for my roommate. And then he turned around and walked back into, I guess, to her room.
Oof. Yeah, that's freaky. That is definitely.
I was like, what the hell? And then after that, we weren't roommates anymore.
Yeah, that's just weird. That's just weird. So the election is in 4 days. Where were you in 2016?
I was in LA.
Uh-huh.
I was at a, what is that place called? It's like a bar, something beanery.
Barney's
Beanery, yeah.
Yeah. The one on in Hollywood, West Hollywood. Yeah.
Yep. I was there with some friends, some acting friends. We'd gotten out of class and decided to go get a drink and watch Hillary win. And
and it didn't.
Got that drink.
how drunk were you that night? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how fucking wasted were you?
Oh man, on a scale of 1 to 10, I was like a 13. I was wasted.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I had envisioned that something like this would happen. I was like, oh, she will probably win the popular vote, but we've got this stupid fucking electoral, like I just was like, I don't trust this process. And unfortunately, my worst fear came true, and most people's.
Yeah, it was definitely a shocker.
It was a brazen theft.
yeah, and it's funny because I'm seeing this year. I'm seeing a lot of people on Facebook not as confident in a Trump victory. I have a lot of friends, like right-wing friends from when I used to live in part of San Diego that was very, very conservative when I grew up. So their responses are a little different this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little more muted. It's not as in your face. So could be different this time. And it's funny. I was in 2016. I was in Yosemite. I had just gotten my Parks Pass, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna go on this vacation. I'm gonna get away from it all. It's all gonna be freaking fun. I'm gonna go on these hikes, and it's gonna be this great, grand spiritual experience where I'm gonna tune in later, and I'm gonna see that Hillary Clinton had won, and the country had come to their senses, and eventually we'll be able to solve this climate crisis that's hovering over us day by day. And
oh God, yeah.
And for me, someone who's had student debt, some sort of relief package for millennials and these kind of things. And nope, not at all. I walked into the bar. And I walked into the bar after a long day of hiking. Like a long day of hiking. And it's hilarious because when you're in California, especially Los Angeles, you see a lot of Hillary, you see a lot of Bernie, you see a lot of Biden, you see a lot of these signs everywhere. They're like everywhere. And the only place like I've ever seen a bunch of Trump signs in my life is when I drive to through the Central Valley to go hiking in these areas like Sequoias and the Yosemite Valley. And so when I go there, I see it, and I'm like, oh, well, these are just like kind of like good old boys, like hick farmers or whatever. And they're just kind of like, well, you got to pull up your bootstraps and all that kind of stuff, and we ain't got no goddamn student loans or whatever. And so they don't give a shit. And they're like, as long as we give us subsidies or whatever the fuck, they're fine. So I get it. And so I'm like, okay, so I see the sign. I see Devin Nunes is like say no to socialism and all this stuff, and you kind of laugh and whatever. Yeah. And I was there. I was there in the bar, and everybody was like they couldn't even watch the election coverage. They just couldn't see it. They couldn't look at it, and because they knew it would happen. Like they knew that the battleground states or whatever had already fallen, and there's no way she could have won. And it was just kind of like, they're announcing these states that just don't matter at all, So I gotten, to the bar at this time. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, had a great day. And it was just long, it was beautiful. And I had to drive all the way back to this great hotel outside of Yosemite. It was about an hour and a half outside of Yosemite. And I was pumped up, and I wanted some food, and I wanted some drinks, and then I sit down and I see it, and my jaw dropped, and I could tell by the room. But then there was just this one guy just beaming, just one fucking guy in the corner. Oh no! And he's got a cowboy hat, and he's got boots on. Oh no! And he's like, and he's like. Not even staying at this damn resort. He's not even like a guest. Like he just like. He knew one of the bartenders or something like that, and he just kind of drove his truck in from whatever, and so he's like, I want to see this coverage, and he was just like, oh yes sir, this is great, this is wonderful, this is just what this is America now, this is how it's supposed to be, and this is and I'm thinking oh my God, I've never wanted to fight someone in my life, but this guy right here. It's like, this guy is like, that was 2016. And so I decided for this election to take my Yosemite trip before the election. And yeah, so I just got back and I'm very refreshed. I feel good. And I did see a lot of Trump signs. In fact, I stopped at a burger place and I thought it was really funny. There was actually nobody wearing a mask. It was kind of
God.
Yeah, there was nobody wearing a mask and everyone's like drinking and stuff. But it was outside at least, like the eating area.
Okay.
But like none of the people inside of the restaurant serving the food or everybody's like, nah, we're not wearing a mask. And then if you like hang one off your ear or like put one on, then everyone kind of like stares at you like, oh, goddamn liberals over there. They must be bringing that COVID-19 up here. But so
why do you need the mask?
Yeah.
If you've been safe?
You must be sick.
Oh man. Well, do you feel ready to conquer potential disappointment?
I'm ready this time. I was completely shocked last time, but I feel a little bit more confident this time anyway, because she was under a lot of scrutiny for all those emails and all that stuff, even though it was pretty much, a BS witch hunt anyway. Kind of like how what's his face, Mr. Trump thinks he's always under a BS witch hunt. Well, I mean, look at what happened to Hillary.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it was Benghazi or these ridiculous emails or the server. It was all a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
But, what issues matter the most to you as a voter now in 2020? And has anything changed from 2016, or is it basically everything's just the same? We just went back in time or frozen in time for like 4 years under the Trump administration.
Oh man. It's hard to say what we've really gone through these past 4 years.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're still in it. And I think like the aftermath of this, whatever, some people I guess will call it trauma. I don't know how we're going to come out of this, but hopefully November, in a few days, I guess it's going to take a couple weeks to actually determine who the president what's the thing. But hopefully mid-November, we have a new president. My beliefs haven't really changed in terms of what I thought in 2016 and what I have values now in 2020. I think that my choices have been altered, of course. In 2016, we're choosing between Hillary and Donald, and now we're choosing between Joe Biden and Trump. So it's like, the choices are different, and that sort of makes you track your own sort of like what your own values are, right? Because like my values might be different if I could choose between Joe Biden and Bernie, right? Like I'd vote for Bernie, but I don't have that choice. So I have to make a choice that fulfills some of my values and not all. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. And I want to thank you for not being a radical Bernie bro and saying, I will not vote at all. I mean, that is just such a... I see it all the time on the internet. And it's all over the internet. I try not to log on Facebook, but it's like it's like kind of like crack for me. Like I'm like, oh yeah. So I end up doing it. And sometimes I engage, but mostly I just stop and close the app. So a lot of people are coming around, and I was a Bernie supporter too. And I went to the rally in downtown Los Angeles where they had Public Enemy playing, and it was all this thing. And, Flavor Flav was like, that's a fake revolution, man. You can't back him. And then Chuck D was like, fuck you, you're out of the band, bro. And kicked him right out. And I thought that was badass. And, it's funny because there were a lot of young people there, and there was definitely some old people there too. But I didn't think it was a fake revolution. I think it was really, I was talking to a friend that was a Biden supporter from the beginning. And he told me, like, he actually went to the rally with me too, because he lives in downtown, and so he just walked there, and you know, we got some food after and all this stuff. Obviously, pre-pandemic, it was very, very nice. It's funny
right?
how much everything has changed. Where it was just like everything was like you take the damn subway and you have no fear. Like, well,
Yeah.
well,
Oh
since
my
I'm a
God.
man, I guess I don't have the fear like women do when they're taking subways and walking around. I don't really
The
have
fear's
that.
different now, you know?
Yeah, now it's
The
like,
fear's invisible.
oh yeah, I've been dying because one of my favorite things to do, even a dude in my 30s, one of my favorite things to do is head on down to Disneyland and get hammered. Like I fucking love doing that. It's like one of my favorite fun things to do, and you know, ride rides or just walk around, eat at the restaurants or whatever. And it's funny because like when I was a kid, I didn't like it. Like when I was a teenager or whatever, I was like this is like, you know, big capitalist crap, you know, it's like big merchandising, you know, it's this big money suck, you know, whatever. And now I'm like, you know, decked out with all the freaking Mickey stuff. And I'm like, oh, take my money. You know, I'm just like, I don't care. Like now I'm like all for that crap. And so, you know, they're saying, oh, you got to get in this certain tier in order to open up the parks. Even 25% with masks and with, you know, the sanitizers and all that stuff. You still have to get the actual county into like these little tiers of infection rates and stuff and cases. And, you know, it's probably not going to happen because it's one of those viruses that just so easily transmissible that it's pretty difficult to breach that tier. So even I'm getting like ultra progressive kind of left wing guy, you know, kind of like the government won't open Disneyland. Like I'm just not like happy with it. So I'm pretty over it, you know, over the whole situation. But anyway, back to the rally. Back to the rally.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think everyone's sort of exhausted, you know, like it's been a long time to sort of have to have the same conversation and nothing is really changing. So it's like some people feel fed up. They feel like, well, fuck it. Like I've probably been exposed to it. Maybe I've even had it. Maybe I'm on a clinical trial.
Yeah.
I always look at people who aren't wearing a mask and I'm like, which trial are you a part of? Johnson & Johnson? Is it
I heard Pfizer. Yeah, I heard Pfizer's paying good money.
Who you repping? Yeah. Moderna? OPK? Which one?
So anyway, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of fatigue going on with this thing.
For sure. Yeah. Rightfully so. We should have had a better response to this pandemic, you know, and everyone's frustrated now. People are not having jobs, but they also have bills. Like, so you don't have a job, you can't pay your bills. The stimulus package hasn't been, you know, there's a lot of frustration. So
yeah, it's
I totally understand people's fatigue and like wanting to get back to work and feed their children and pay their bills and childcare and school and just like all of it together. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you and I met on the set of a television show. What was that? Like, it had to have been more than a year ago. And life was just normal, you know?
Right.
And you're a stand-up comedian. Yeah. And so like, that's your bread and butter and you haven't been able to do many shows, right? It's been, that's like your lifeblood, right?
Yeah. So when everything shut down at first, it was kind of, you know, I was thinking it's only going to be a few weeks. We'll all get back out on the road and there'll be a new plan, you know, like I was working on something at the time. So I was like, okay, I'll work on this project and that will end and the pandemic will also end and then I'll hopefully get on the road and prepare for festivals is what I was planning on doing. And of course, it just kept going and going and going. I've done shows online, which has been fun. It's been like interesting to open up myself in a different way, like doing shows in London online, you know, like it's kind of fun to like meet those people I would have never met, or maybe I would have met them, but like I'm still at home in Los Angeles and I'm like, just met somebody across the pond, you know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, that's like a new kind of opportunity. That's definitely a positive thing from this.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of actually making money in comedy, it's really hard. It's hard no matter what. Like,
Yeah, even with everything open.
With everything open, yeah. I mean, you'll do a show and make nothing most of the time. Absolutely, most of the time, you're not going to make anything. Maybe you'll make $10, 15, 30, 100 if you're lucky. Like, or if you're on tour and you happen to have everything paid for you, then you're doing fucking great.
Right.
But yeah, that's such a small percentage of the comedians that are out there just trying to.
Right. And then when you're first starting, like what I was dabbling, like I do mostly like video, digital sketch and shorts and things like that, web and TV. Mm-hmm. But early, I would say February-ish, I was starting to do more live stuff like stand-up and sketch shows and things like that. So I had just written my first 5 minutes, and I was going to start hitting open mics. And you literally have to pay like $5-10 whatever to go up and test your shit. Comedy is not, it unless you're up in the higher rungs or whatever, you're not raking the money in. So it's definitely one of those things.
No.
Where you're hustling.
Oh yeah. You really have to diversify, and you really have to try to transition that writing skill to something else that can be monetized. Unfortunately, like that's just the science behind it all. Or like there are have been in the past. There have been comedians in the past who have just been club comedians, and they travel, and do that, and that's amazing. That's dope. Like to be able to pay your life, for life by being a traveling comedian. That's amazing.
That's all. Yeah, they carved their little niche, and it's working, and they book shows.
Yeah,
and people
they don't have to write on television. I mean, I think I would love to write television. I don't think that's a bad thing, but you know what I mean. There are these people who are just like, no, I want to do stand up. I want to be in the clubs, and that's how they live their lives.
Yeah.
So
that's totally cool. That's totally fine. So how have you dealt with this? Have you had any bouts of like depression? Have you had any problems like emotional problems? Like have you had like spiritual problems? Like I'm just looking like the whole picture of this, because like you've obviously made something work. You've done some virtual stuff. You didn't just give up and then because a lot of people have moved to like other states or whatever, and they've done something else, and they're like, I'm just gonna come back when all that stuff reopens. I'm not messing around with that shit and those high rents. And and literally
I know those people.
Yeah, and literally the state was on fire, and every year, the goddamn state is on fire. It's like,
right.
At some point, we're going to have to reverse this.
We get a reckoning every year.
Yeah, at some point, we're going to have to reverse the damn climate change. We're not going to have any freaking trees anymore. It's ridiculous. And I'm an avid hiker, and there's no way in hell you're going to sit here and remove every tree that's ever died in the forest. I always read this like right-wing talking point. Well, the forests, which are governed by the federal government, by the way, which is, Trump. It's like you got to manage the forest. You have to go in and you have to remove the tree and you have to rake and all this stuff. It's like, dude, do it. If you're so worried about that, then do it. Then get rid of any dead tree that you come across. But it's really because there's a lack of rain. And there's dry lightning, and it's really, really bad. And occasionally, you'll have some arsonists, some assholes, sure. And it'll make the fact that it's dry, it'll make it worse because it'll spread faster. But it's not because of forest management. It's because there's no rain, guys.
yeah, definitely. And also, I mean, in part, it can be attributed to the management of the forest, but we haven't, that's federally funded, and that funding was cut since this administration. So they haven't been able to employ the proper amount of people to be able to even, this could have been, these fires could have been smaller if we had given them the funding they needed, but we didn't. As a collective, America, this current administration did not give them the right funding. So
there's been so many rollbacks that I've lost count, and there's so many environmental regulations that have been just removed entirely that I can't even sit here. I used to be able to, like 2017 or whatever, 2018, I used to be able to have like a list of things that I could tell people, like, oh, well, Scott Pruitt, who locks himself into a soundproof booth so he can talk to his oil and gas lobbyists. He, literally, this is what was happening. And like, because the staff was leaking what, all the crazy stuff he was doing. He was the head of the EPA, but he was the lobbyist for the oil and gas companies prior to being hired by the EPA, by Trump, I should say. Of course. There's no way anyone at the EPA would be like, yeah, let's hire Scott Pruitt. That's just not. Doesn't work. Yeah. Yeah. It makes no sense. But anyway, so I can't even list them. I have no way to like, my mind it's just so much that has happened throughout the last 4 years. I couldn't even sit here and tell you like, and Bears Ears and the Escalante and all the stuff that, is opening up for federal drilling and all this stuff. Like I've totally lost all of that information. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's just way too much going on. How could we possibly know? You know what I mean? Like, it's a drive-by every fucking day. Excuse me, I don't even know if I'm allowed to curse on this. But like, yeah, we're going through a drive-by.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. It's
and that's why I'm voting for Biden.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of this drive-by. Like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
We need to restore some sanity. We also, and like, honestly, like, Joe Biden isn't the answer. Like, we have to be more responsible as citizens of this country and also vote the senators, House of Representatives. Like, we need to be more accountable for everyone who holds an office, like, position, like a federal office. Like, even our city council members, we need to know who those people are.
Yeah, it's funny because going back to what I was talking about the Bernie rally. There was a lot of young people there, and it was really cool. There was a lot of enthusiasm and things like that. But when it was time to vote for the Democratic candidate who ended up being Joe Biden, they really didn't go and vote. Like the young people really didn't show up. And my friend was telling me, he was a Biden supporter. He's like, yeah, if you ever have a, election that relies on issues for, younger generations or whatever, they actually don't end up showing up to vote. One of the reasons is like they don't want to like register. They don't want to be sent jury summons to do jury duty. They don't want to do any of that. And, like there's things like that.
Funny.
Some of them like literally are just so fucking poor that like, or they don't have a way to get to like the jury thing, or they're a student, or whatever, like college student or something.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of valid reasons.
That it's impossible. For them to time out.
Or they don't have an ID or something because they don't have a car, because they don't need a car, because they take the bus or they take the subway or they take a Lyft or an Uber or whatever. Like, I get it, but it's like, man, we gotta like really, really like start making it like, yo, bro, like voting is cool. Like it's not like, you know what I mean? Like we gotta make it. We need more than just like Taylor Swift to be like, hey, you guys, it's time to vote. Like we need like a massive movement. And I'm seeing a lot of good things coming out of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She hopped on Twitch the other day, and she just started like playing video games with a bunch of kids and teenagers and whatever, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, whatever, millennials, I guess you could say. Millennials are like 40 now, and like so. Yeah, I mean, like they're freaking pushing 40 because you can be. I think it's like 1980 or something like that is like the youngest or oldest millennial. Anyway, so yeah, so she hops on there, and I don't know how many viewers or whatever people are on there.
Yeah.
But I see it online. I see it like shared and stuff. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this kind of stuff, this stuff is cool. Like this stuff, yeah, you might have a couple of things that you may have to do or something, but this shit matters. This is your life. This is your future. This is part of your family. This is a part of your neighbors, part of your whatever. So it's definitely one of those things where there's a lot of work to do, but I'm glad people like AOC are starting to understand, how to engage these young kids.
Yeah, I agree. I think there has to be a way that we encourage people to vote. You know what I mean? Like, and now with more flexibility with voting by mail, I mean, which is not a new concept at all. Like, literally, we've been doing it for so long.
I know.
But like, it's just like, it's so ridiculous that people are like, it's new, it's fraud. It's like, we've been doing this. It's been a thing. But, but like now that more people are realizing that it's a thing that you can do, I hope that allows people to feel more comfortable with voting and knowing that, that they can vote on their own time, that it's not, this one specific day, and that I've never been called for jury duty, actually, which is hilarious. And now that I say that, I'm going to get a thing.
Every year, they're like, Nthenya from Kenya, get your ass downtown.
My name is so ethnic. They're just like, nah, we can't have her. She's gonna go the other way. It's unpredictable.
Hey,
so predictable.
It works in your favor. It works in your favor. I know.
Oh yeah.
I had a friend who said they were a racist, like just to get out of it, and I thought that was horrible, but it did work.
Well, yeah, I would love to do it. I have a friend who's a lawyer, and I've asked him if I could watch him, work, because I'm fascinated by it, and I think the more that you just know about our legal system as a citizen, like the more informed you are about anything, the better your life is going to be. So I just was curious about the whole thing, and yeah, I've never been asked to serve.
Yeah, hey.
I'm waiting for my notice.
Good for you.
I'm waiting for it. I will do it with complete honesty, and they'll probably be like, "You're a comedian. You're too honest. Get her out of here."
Yeah, I mean, I think they should pay the jurors a little more. I mean, if you're going to take the time out of your day or your job or whatever it is, because not everybody has a certain job where you can just. I'm going to take for jury duty, guys. Can you pay me still? Like, sure. Like, that's like, not everybody has a job like that. Like, so.
Oh, of course not. We should. It should be paid.
Yeah.
It should be.
I think they reimburse you. I think they reimburse you for something. Really? I don't know what, but it's not much. I think they give you like $20-$30, but they should pay you at least like $150 or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
well, you'll add the disclaimer in here when you.
I mean, every time I swear to God, every time I was driving in what was it, West Hollywood? It was West Hollywood or one of these places around here, or no, it was just LA City cops, and they have motorcycle cops everywhere. And so if you forget to put on your seatbelt, or if you touch your phone while you're driving, or any of that stuff. The motorcycle cops are the ones that bust you. And so I've gotten 2 tickets. I got a seatbelt. I forgot to put on my damn seatbelt. And then I got a cell phone. I lifted it up. Someone called, and I just looked at it. And I was holding it while I drove by. I wasn't looking at it, but I was holding it in my hand. Like it was still, like I was tripping out when he was like, well, you can't have it in your hand. It has to be on like like one of those cradle things. Like it has to be on one of those or on a seat or something. It can't be in the hand while the car's moving, even if you're not looking at it. And I was like, okay, fuck. So, and the tickets were like insane. Like they were like $300. Like, so if you're paying all this money to the city to for these tickets that, definitely it's not safe to be on your phone or whatever. And you could get really injured if you don't have a seatbelt on, but I mean, it's got a ticky-tack kind of thing for that much money. If you're taking that much money from people, from hard-working people, you
Yeah.
could probably pay for, you know, a juror to make some time out of their day and go, you know, rule on some case or give your opinion for some, you know, criminal case or whatever.
I agree. I mean, like not even a moving violation, a parking violation in LA is 70 something bucks. Like that's not, you're not even moving. If you have, like, my speeding ticket was like almost $500, which is crazy because I wasn't even going, I was going 11 over.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. 500.
So imagine if I'd been going 15, 20 over, which is like what most people get a ticket for.
Yeah.
So it's like, it would have been more. That's crazy.
Okay, so we got where you stand on some of these issues in the 2020 election, which is 4 days away.
Whee!
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so back to stand-up comedy because I think this is one of these things that you know, it's kind of like when people think of LA, you know, a lot of people think, oh, like the tent cities or whatever. You know, I think it's about like the live entertainment. It's about the restaurants and the bars, and it's about the nightlife. Like it's I haven't been able to, you know, sit at a bar, just not even go to a comedy club. Just go to a bar and drink some beer and just sit at some bar and you know, play on my phone, talk to somebody or whatever, and just go out. Like not even stay here, play video games, watch movies or whatever. Like actually go to a bar and just chill and just take in the ambiance, the music, talk to the bartender and all that stuff. I fucking miss that. And I miss just like doing that. Like not even, you know, and just staying up. And that was a big part of just being here in LA. And it's funny because it's like now, you know, it's pretty much closed indefinitely. So it's kind of like, you know, it's starting to weigh on me.
Yeah.
And
it's not indefinite.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, until like, well, I don't know, May maybe. But
yeah, I'd say next year, March maybe.
March. Yeah, that's good. That's optimistic, realistic too. And
that's optimistic. It is.
Yeah, but I mean, Trump's was like, oh, you know, December 1st. You know, he's crazy. But
Jesus.
Yeah. So
tomorrow.
Yeah. So how have you felt like emotionally dealing with you know, some of the shutdowns and you know, just being out? Because I know you had a show, right? At a weekly show for a while there, right?
Yeah. I guess like how I'm feeling emotionally. I've definitely like had the roller coaster. I'm not gonna lie. I've felt like I've really missed stand up and like wondered how I'm gonna ever get to go back to it. You know, like my life just doesn't seem like it can ever be the same. And I don't know if I'll ever shake that feeling, but like I'm hopeful, right? Like I hope that it all opens back up. In terms of like being sad about that, I mean, I've been sad just about the same things like you. Like interacting with people is like the thing that I feed off of. Like as a stand-up comedian, like my whole life depends on interacting with people. Right. So not being able to meet people or interact with my friends and create things and, you know, just like have these life experiences, it feels sometimes like it limits my art.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've been like working on or trying to figure out. But now I feel sort of empowered by it. I've shifted to a more like mindset of like, my mindset is I will be inspired when I'm inspired.
Oh, okay, good.
And I'm not forcing myself to create. I'm allowing myself to like be a person.
Yeah.
Where I feel like sometimes like LA kind of gives you that, you got to do something right now. And you've got to apply for this job and you've got to meet these people and you've got to line up your life like this. And you got to be a house spot on this thing and be chosen for this festival, and you know what I mean? Like it sort of has that expectation.
Yeah.
And not being able to do any of those things has narrowed my focus and made me feel more like just in line with what I want to create and what I want to do. So that's nice.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't feel the pressure now, and like you were saying, like you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, and this is your your trajectory and things like that, and whether it's like an agent or manager or something like that. And now it's like you got nothing, and like you got to have to like push yourself now, which is funny because like the other people used to push me or whatever, or people. I would see people doing a lot of things, and they're like my peers, friends, things of that nature, and I'd be like, oh, I want to get involved with something like that or something like that. So now it's now I don't see a lot of people doing it much, and so it has given me a little pause, like, okay, how do I keep myself busy in this thing? So, I've talked to some people, and one guy told me he's been writing, which it was wonderful. He wrote a 30-minute, it's like polished and everything, comedy and pilot, and he runs like every morning. Like that's his thing. Wakes up every single morning, 6 a.m., and runs, and then he gets ideas while he's running, and then he jots them down, and for the second episode and the third episode and fourth episode, and it keeps him going. And when he asked me like, what are you doing, I told him that I beat 2 video games, I grew out a beard, and I gained 15 pounds, and putting in work. Yeah, I put in work. And the funny thing about the beer that I've been drinking, they have like 15 different brands at Whole Foods, and some of them are like really good, and some of them are really terrible, and some of them give me really bad headaches. Oh no! Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of work as far as like researching beers. That's what it.
You're gonna know exactly which beer.
Yeah, I'm like a beer connoisseur. Just like that's just what happened. But
you found your niche. That's good.
Yeah, but now I'm back in this. I'm doing this podcast, so I'm going to try to get back into the swing of things. I want to thank you for coming on the first episode of The Ramble.
Yes.
The Halloween edition.
I think we did that. We rambled. I rambled.
I think we covered some important topics, and the Nthenya. I almost said Nthenya.
Just Nthenya from Kenya.
And Nthenya, thank you again, and I hope you have a great, great day and wonderful, wonderful weekend.
You too.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, thanks.
That is all for episode 1 of The Ramble. I hope you enjoyed yourself, because I certainly have. Once this pandemic ends, I will have guests at my home studio, where we can sit face to face Joe Rogan style. And when that day comes, I will tell them to avoid the 10 freeway like the plague and take San Vicente instead.